So for the next section of quiz 6.2, the instructions are as follows. It says plot each point and form the triangle ABC. Verify that the triangle is a right triangle. Find its area. So here you have to do three different things. First, you have to plot and form the triangle. Then you have to verify that it's a right triangle, and then you have to find its area. So let's start with this example. So it says a equals negative 6 comma 3, b equals 3 comma negative 5, and capital C equals negative 1 comma 5. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to plot those points. So A, notice that negative 6 is on the x-axis. So here, right here, negative 6 is the value for x. And then for y, you have 3. So the coordinate is right here. This is capital A. Now 3 comma negative 5. So 3 in x, 1, 2, 3, and negative 5 in y. So we actually need to go a little lower. So over here, and then here you have b. And then for c, negative 1 comma 5, well, negative 1 in x and 5 in y, so c. Now we need to form the triangle. So I'm going to make a line from A to C. Okay. I'm going to make another line from C to B. And then I'm going to make a line from A to B. And now we need to find, verify that this is a right triangle. How do we do that? Well, we use the converse of the Pythagorean theorem, which states the following. If A, B, C, little a, little b, and little c, which are the sides of the triangle, C is the side of the hypotenuse, or the supposed hypotenuse, then if c squared equals a squared plus b squared, then ABC is a right triangle. Okay? So we need to verify that this equation is true. And how do we do that? Well, we need to assign first who's lowercase a, lowercase b, and lowercase c. So let's do that. I'm going to change the color. Okay. So AB is going to produce, as you can see here, it's going to produce your hypotenuse, which is the longest length. So this is little c. Then, then AC is going to produce little b. So AC is little b.
I can help you find a place. If you turn on location services, go to locations.
And then BC is going to be your lowercase a. And now we need to find the distance, okay? And that's why we have to learn the distance formula, to find the distance of each of them and then apply it to the equation. So let's start with distance of the side lowercase a. So the distance that we need to find is, sorry about that, it's glitches. Distance is from C to B. Okay. Now remember, what are the coordinates of C? Negative 1 comma 5. And B, 3 comma negative 5. So on the previous video, when we were looking for the distance, we labeled them. Okay. For this video, I will not label them because we're going to have to find 3 different distances, so the labels are going to be different. So I just want you to rewrite the formula. Let me move ourselves over here. Remember, it's your x2 minus x1 squared plus your y2 minus your y1 squared. Now x2. x2 can be either of the 2 points, okay? So if you choose, you know what? I am going to label them. I'm just going to choose a different color. x2, y2, x1, y1. So x2 is negative 1, and x1 is 3, so minus 3 squared, plus y2 is 5, minus y1, which is negative 5. So remember, we put 2 parentheses, and then we do the keep flip change. Now negative 1 minus 3 is negative 4 squared. Minus and minus makes plus, so we do the keep flip change. Negative 4 squared. What is negative 4 squared? Remember, it's not negative 8. It's not positive 8. It's actually positive 16. It's negative 4 times negative 4. Now 5 plus 5 is 10, and 10 squared is 100. So 16 plus 100 is 116. So the distance between capital C and capital B is square root of 116. Now let's find the distance between A and C, okay? Or the distance of lowercase b. So I'm going to choose a different color. The distance of AC, okay? Let me write the coordinates for A. It's negative 6, 3. And let me label them. Since I already have labeled x2 and y2, let's label this one x1, y1. So let's go ahead and do that. Now we already wrote the formula, so we don't have to write it again. x2 is negative 1 minus x1 here is negative 6. So remember, 2 parentheses. y2 is 5. And y1 is 3. Okay. Now we just have to compute. Negative 1 minus 6. So remember, minus and minus makes plus. We have to change that. So negative 1 plus 6. Don't forget to change it. And 5 minus 3 is 2. Negative 1 plus 6 is positive 5. That 2 is ugly. Now 5 squared. Remember, what is 5 squared? 5 squared is not 10. 5 squared is 5 times 5, which is 25. And 2 squared is 2 times 2, which is 4. So this is square root of 29. So the distance between AC or lowercase b is square root of 29. Now lastly, to finish the problem, We need to find the distance between A and B. Okay? Let me change the color. So the distance between A and B. Now here we had the same labels x1 and x1. We need to change that. So choose either one. I'm going to change this one to x2, y2. Okay? And then you plug it in. Again, I'm not going to rewrite the formula because you already wrote it. X2 is negative 6 minus x1, which is 3, plus y2, which is 3, minus y1, which is negative 5, 2 parentheses. Okay? Now I know I'm writing it on top of other stuff, so it can look weird. Just brace yourself. Negative 6 minus 3 is negative 9 squared. We do the keep flip change, so 3 plus 5 squared. Negative 9 squared, remember, is negative 9 times negative 9. That's positive 81. And 3 plus 5 is 8 squared. What is that equal to? So 81 plus, what's a squared? It's not 16. 8 times 8 is 64. Now, what's 1 plus 4 is 5. 8 plus 6 is 14, so 145. And that's the distance of A to B, or the hypotenuse C. Now, how do we connect all of this? Well, those are the distances, but the formula says that you have to square them and they have to equal to each other. So that means the following. C, which is this distance right here, is 145, the square root of 145. And I have to square it. And that must be equal to A squared. Well, let's go back to see what's A. A is the square root of 16. So, square root of 116 squared plus B squared. B is the square root of 29. So the square root of 29 squared. Now, what is the square root of 145 squared? Well, you guys know that I don't like to use the word canceling, but in this case, the exponent is equal to 1, right? Because the square root is exponent of 1/2. So 1/2 times 2 is 1. So this is just 145, aka canceling, right? The square roots cancel the square. Now, the same thing happens with this one. So this is 116 plus, and the same thing happens with this one, plus 29. Now, 116 plus 29, how much is that? Well, let's ask. 116 plus 29 is 145. So 145 equals 145. Okay, that means by the converse of the Pythagorean theorem that this is indeed a right triangle. Okay, because it satisfies the equation. Now, that's the second part. We still have one more part. It says what? Find its area. So once you know it's a right triangle, you can find its area. And how do I do that? Well, we need to use the area formula. What is the area formula? The area of a right triangle, or any triangle, instead of just writing A, let me write the whole name, area. is 1/2 the base times the height. Okay, so we need to identify who's the base and who's the height of this triangle. Well, the base is either A or B, and the height is either A or B. You determine which one you want for the base and which one you want for the height. What you cannot say is that C, which is the hypotenuse, is the base or the height. It's neither of those. Okay, so you cannot use the hypotenuse for the formula. So that being said, the area becomes equal to 1/2 the base, which is square root of 29, times the height, which is square root of 116. Okay, and then that equals to, you cannot divide the 2. Okay, the 2 is not inside a square root, so you cannot divide it by 29 or 116. But you can multiply 29 with 116 inside the square root. So this is equal to, so 29 times 116, oops, wrong number, 3,364. Okay, and just out of curiosity, let's see if it's a perfect square. So square root, let me take out the calculator. Oops. Let's go back here. So 3,064 square root. Yep, it's a perfect square. It equals 58. Oops. Yep, glitches. A little bit of glitches here going on. Sorry about that. So 58 divided by 2, right? Because 1/2 times 58 is 58 divided by 2. And what is that equal to? Let's take our calculator. Divided by 2 is 29. Oh, glitches again. Let's see if it doesn't. Well, it's 59. It's 29. Why is it not working now? It froze. Well, at least it froze on the last step because that's the answer. Okay. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, let me know in class. Thank you.